Hello and welcome to Real Weird Sickos. My name is Tom Vidioga, and I hope you're having a terrific day as you listen to this episode of Real Weird Sickos. Because you know what? When you know all the answers, we change the questions. And I know who the person who's going to change all the questions is my dear friend, Mr. Charles Khan. Mr. Charles Khan, what is popping in your neighborhood?
Well, brother, let me tell you something from my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand my intentions? Weird science. Indeed, that is today's topic. And the maestro of the mad science herself is our dear friend Jen. Jen, better known as Dojangles. What's happening in your neighborhood?
Oh, not much. Just, just hanging out, doing my thing. Nothing new.
Absolutely. And you know what science is all about, my good friend. And you know what, Jen? Everybody poops.
Are you going to blind us with science?
You know what? Because we'll start with poop, because everything begins like
everybody poops.
Poop is like the alpha and the omega, and everybody poops. Do you know it's like there's like a children's book about that? It's called Everybody Poops. Did your mom ever read that to you?
I never saw the children's book Everybody
Poops. I read it at a library, I think.
So
you read it at a library? You studied it? This test?
Absolutely.
It's just a book about not being ashamed to take a big old hearty shit.
There should be shame. There should be a lot of shame.
Well, that's why dogs. You ever look at a dog? You ever look at your dog when they're pooping? Like, I do that to just piss my dog off, and they have that look like, "Don't look at me."
Oh, they always make a face like, "Oh, hey, buddy, hey, I'm working here."
Do
make that
you
face.
mind?
That book was released
I'm
in 1977.
looking at the thing now. Tom posted it. It looks Japanese. Mm-hmm. Why do the Japanese and Germans always involve poop? Why is that poop? Why is that their thing?
Oh,
they got no shame.
You think
I respect them.
You think it's connected to losing World War II?
Jesus Christ.
It could be. But speaking of this isn't even a segue, so it's not even speaking of.
Just make it a segue.
Talking about poop.
You ever
accessories?
see that episode of South Park called Turd Burglars?
I believe so, and it's a very shameful episode.
Yes.
Not related to the episode about turd strangling.
No, that's completely different. Like
or turd smuggling.
You
ever smuggle any turds?
Cross state lines sometimes.
Well, what happened is in this episode, Kyle's mom gets sick and she needs to have something called a fecal transplant. Everybody's telling her, "Oh, Sheila, you look great." She's like, "Oh, thanks, Sheila, fecal transplant." And what happens is with this fecal transplant, it is what it sounds like. They take the shit out of somebody's healthy microbiome and they put it up the anus of somebody who's sick. Well, what if...
See, I pictured it involving a hose. Like you have to...
It's true.
Siphoning a hose. You take the hose from one ass to the other. Somebody has to suck on it and then stick it up somebody's ass to transfer the poop that way.
God. Like you're siphoning the shit. Not quite, but you're kind of close. I'll tell you how that really, really works because
locally sourced artisan dude.
Yes. So what happens is it's a real thing. So I'll back it up a little bit. What happens is that, you have good bacteria and you have bad bacteria in your gut. And sometimes, usually when C. diff, it's called C. diff, Clostridium difficile. What happens is...
you got a big difficile over there?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a fun word.
It's a
fun word. So what happens is that if there's a patient in the hospital, say Tom has osteomyelitis. He got bit by a dog. He has a bone infection.
I'm more concerned about this cartoon man not having eyes.
Yeah, we're looking at
the diagram. This fella has no eyeballs.
Yeah,
he has no eyes.
Yeah. So what happens
Let's say a dog bites me.
Dog bites you. You get a bone infection. You get osteomyelitis. You're going to have to go sit at the hospital for a few days, and you're going to have to be on some heavy-duty IV antibiotics. What's going to happen is that's going to kill the infection that you got from getting bit, but it's also going to kill the good bacteria in your gut. All of a sudden, you start getting the gurglies. You're not feeling so good. All of a sudden, you start shitting, and you can't control it. It's just coming out like lava, but it's not like regular lava. It's a little bit green. It's got some mucus in there, and it's pretty.
So it's anal
Yeah,
leakage.
it is, and you don't have any control over it. It smells really sour. Like I'll tell you, like medical professionals that work in a hospital.
What's it taste like?
You know, I haven't had any experience with that, but my nose has had a little taste of that many
There's
times.
the Japanese and the Germans when we need them most.
Very sour. So
It's
You know,
that battery acid smell.
when you get it's not even that. It's just sour. Like we know it from a mile away. You know, it's just you can smell it usually before the patient even knows what's going on. It's like I know that smell. I know that smell. But what ends up happening is it's pretty bad. It could be really, really hard to get rid of, you know, because you have to rebalance your gut. And sometimes they'll try to kill it with like more antibiotics and then a probiotic on top of that. But that again, like, and it's something that if it goes away, it can come back like really, really easy, or it colonizes where it's like, you know, like surprise, motherfucker, I never really went away. So, what they developed, and it's still, I'd say it's still something that's really risky, and a lot of places don't like doing it because of everything that's involved. So you get the fecal transplant.
The hose and the guy who comes in.
You
sticks it up somebody's ass.
You have to get an actual donor. So like a shit donor. It's like, you know, it's like.
So it's like going to the sperm bank. You just go to the poop bank.
The poop
There's a
bank.
guy who's like, he always looks like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. Hello there. I have brought you my
I
sample.
brought you my feces. The best
I
feces
have
ever.
produced a large, best feces ever. Here
Reese's
it is in a
Feces.
small. I picture him having like one of those popcorn tins, you know, like those big popcorn tins. I have filled this popcorn tin.
Well,
Here
here's
you go.
the problem.
You may do with it what you wish.
Comic book guy has to be a really, really super healthy motherfucker. And let me tell you, if IRL, I don't think he would be. You're going to need somebody.
Yeah.
The donor needs to be exceptionally healthy.
So it needs to be who's Duff Man? It needs to be Duff
You know
Man.
what? Our Rainier Wolfcastle, as long as he's not juicing.
Oh,
Rainier Wolfcastle. All right.
Okay,
now-
as
Taco
long
says
as
you're
he's
Diedrich
not
Tatum.
juicing, or Tatum's probably like he's got something from, you know,
Giving you my feces.
you know, he's probably on something. But let's say somebody's really, really, really healthy, and we'll say it's Rainier Wolfcastle, or like who's like the
Some Rob Lowe motherfucker.
no,
Some
who
guy
was
who's
like the
a-
guy that
fit.
Millhouse's mom was dating that was like an American Gladiator.
Oh, the
the
handsome
blonde guy.
Turbo.
Yeah.
We'll say that guy.
Turbo.
So
Some turbo motherfucker.
Turbo is the one that is supplying. He's the supplier. So what they do is that
You have a Dookie supplier.
the Dookie
and you go down
supplier
the corner
has to go
streets.
through rigorous like lab work, history, make sure that they don't have any underlying like diseases, all that other stuff. Okay.
Sorry, I know we're gonna get in the comments.
His
It's
name is
Pyro.
Pyro. That's it. Turbo was an actual American gladiator, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pyro, and then he takes off in the little ball after Bart's like, "You're Pyro." Okay, anyway,
Sure, it wasn't Gemini.
wasn't that a real one?
Yeah, they all have crazy names like Venom, Gemini.
Venom.
So the guy dating Millhouse's mum also did furry roleplay. No,
Jesus. RP? Question
No.
mark.
OP fat rolling. Good. Continue, Jen.
Okay, so-
yes. So
Yeah,
the
you were
donator
talking-
feces.
So
They go to get a donation.
you gotta get a donor, and then the person that's taking the shit. Normally somebody was seen if you don't want to give them Imodium. You want them to get cleaned out. You don't want them holding that in. But they'll get a colonoscopy. They will get Imodium. That's the only time you'll ever give somebody with C. diff Imodium to kind of keep the shit in. And so they take that donor poop and they mix it with some normal saline, which is like water, and it gets liquefied. So it's like mud. And it does.
Oh, dang
They
it.
put it in a container and it actually looks like mud. And this is after like it's got to be fresh. Like it's got to be within 48 hours
hot.
old. It's going to be piping hot fresh from the
straight
fucking
to
oven.
the ass.
So it's got to get
Squirt it.
sloshed.
So it needs to be hot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to. Well, they cool it off. Obviously, you got to put it in the refrigerator, but it's got to be fresh.
See, I was about to say, do they spray it down like the damn Demolition Man? Stick it in with the ice cube?
Somewhere Messy
Good
Tales
news,
is smiling
it's
down upon us.
suppository.
They have to refrigerate it. They have to refrigerate
Messy Tales
it.
is looking on us.
Well, you have to do that anyway. Like if you take it, even if you're not
How
doing.
much poop do they have to shove up there? Whole turd?
It depends on the person getting it, like their height, their weight, all of that stuff. It depends. That
All right,
that
let's assume
will
that
take.
they're both as big as Warwick Davis.
Then you're gonna need a big meaty loaf for that one. Remember that other episode of South Park where Randy takes the biggest shit?
Oh, yes.
You're
yes,
probably
and the
gonna
Bono.
need like a football shit for that one. I would say.
South Park.
Like his first
Yeah.
one that he actually sprays down to keep moist. Remember that?
Yeah, when cell phones were new, I had a friend that every time he'd take a foot-long turd, he'd get real excited about it. And I'd take pictures and send it to everybody. Hey, man, Charles, you got to take a look at this, man. It's the biggest one I ever took.
God
Great.
damn.
Appreciate it, pal.
Goddamn.
Appreciate it, pal. Thank you.
Yes. So, the injection.
So they
I'm not happy
do
looking at
they
pictures of
do
poop.
take kind of like a hose thing. You do kind of have to shove like a hose. So you're kind of right about that, but it's not like
And then-
siphoned like that.
They don't have...
Well, the
they
shit
haven't got
is
these lips on it
like
this.
in these little bottles. Like they're not like IV bags. They're kind of like IV bottle kind of things. And then, it's like kind of like with the hose
Picture
and
loading it into a gun.
yeah,
Or like
and-
one of those...
Yes,
what are they?
kind of
The big sprayer. It's like a big sprayer, like damn Rick the Model Martel used to have when he'd spray that pheromones everywhere.
Oh,
They
but
take that, stick it up their ass, and just zzzt.
it can go right,
Yes,
but
4
it can
p.m.
also
time
go.
for your poop injection.
It is kind of like that. You have to kind of take like the little mud bag. We call them mud bags because that's what it
Oh, a
looks like.
caulking gun. That's what I'm thinking of. They put a caulking gun full of poop up your ass.
You don't want to do that. It's got to be kind of like a slower process because if you try to just shove it all up in there, it's going to come right back out. The sphincter's not
like
going to
putting
hold
stuffed
it.
crust pizza at Pizza Hut.
Yeah, it has to
They
be
have-
slowly.
It's got to go slow
It's got to be
and
tender with some love and some care. Yeah, it's going to be kind of like
Grease it
that.
up.
Yeah.
Make sure you got a lot of vegetable oil on
You
there.
do have to
Arrogance. That was the name of his
You have to lube the tube.
pheromones.
Anything that you shove up anybody, even in a non-sexual way, you have to lube. Like hospitals
Yeah,
are riddled with
absolutely.
lube because there's lube everywhere. We got to, put catheters in. You got to put rectal tubes up the ass. You got to have lube for that because
Yeah, anybody who works in
And for
the
childbirth,
medical
wouldn't it?
profession,
Yeah.
they always want to, like, it's just, and they call them calves. Like, they're so casual about the catheter. They're like, oh yeah, I had to give them a calf.
Yeah.
No big thing.
it's
taking
another.
the
It's
blood and,
literally
like, all this
it's
stuff.
literally
Stuff
just
that
another day
I
at
would,
the office.
in 1,000 years, would be. That'd be the worst day of my
You get
life
used
when
to
I had
it,
to give somebody a
though.
calf.
You get used
Oh,
to it. I
listen,
could do
you
it
know,
with my eyes shut.
Yeah, they
I
said the same thing about killing
I could
people.
do it with
That's
my
never gonna
eyes
happen.
shut.
Never gonna happen.
It's really, you know what I will say? I do always kind of feel bad.
You just lift it in and
I
shove it
feel
in.
bad for guys. It's not as bad for girls to get it done. It's harder for guys
Yeah.
because you really do have to shove it down the pee hole, and you have to.
You had to
And
say it.
okay, so
You had
check it
to
out.
say it.
You do if a guy has like an
Sounding.
enlarged, if you have an enlarged prostate, which most older men do,
Yeah.
you feel
Okay.
like that resistance, but you have to kind of push through that resistance. And there's a lot of guys who don't even know that they have an enlarged prostate until sometimes like a nurse is like placing a Foley catheter. Like,
What about a guy who has an enlarged penis?
and you know what? Catheters come in different sizes. Like you have your 12 fringe and then you have all the way up to your 22 fringe, which is a fucking hose. I mean,
The Lexington Steels.
And
yes.
it's a diameter.
Specifically
It's a
Lexington Steel size.
I did have one time a guy demand me to get him a larger fringed Foley catheter because he was like, that's too small.
Was it like Bill Murray?
No, but because it's
like
like
Bill Murray
I
and
can
damn,
tell by your pee hole
Little
what
Shop of
size
Horrors?
you're
Oh,
gonna
please.
need. Yeah,
Please get me the big one.
exactly. It's like I could tell by your pee hole what you're gonna need, and like, dude, like this, you're gonna have to put like the size thing. Like, you're gonna have to just forget about it. You need to leave that alone right now. Like, this is medical. Do you really want me to go grab you
Somewhere-
a bigger hose more than you need? Because
somewhere out there is a freak who that's his
No,
thing,
they
is
do.
having
Oh,
things shoved up his
sounding's
penis.
a thing.
do.
Sounding is a thing.
Oh yeah, the
They
sounding
do.
guys.
They really do, though. It's like they want you to check it. Like I've had those patients that constantly want you to check it. It's like, dude, I don't have to actually like pull back your blanket and look at it. I can see, and I can
come
see,
on,
and
take a
you
look.
see in your pee bag
Come
that your pee is coming out and it looks fine. Fuck you. Like it's like leave me alone. But like you
Yeah,
do
but it
have
tastes
to.
real
Did I
weird,
tell
Jen.
you?
I need you to taste
After
it.
you put in the catheter, you do know that they have to inflate a 10 cc balloon, right? There's like a little balloon. You got to put in a balloon. So you have like a little balloon.
Thanks.
So if
Tom, you put a. I have to scroll away from that image. I don't want to see that.
you gotta, yeah.
You know, at some point, I'd like to use the bathroom again comfortably. You know, I didn't read everybody poops as a kid. Everybody pees. I didn't read everybody pees.
I can't show that on. I can't show that on the video. Oh, okay. All right. So
the
now,
more I look at it, the more I'm upset.
all right, I've got another image. Of a catheter.
It's a medical
That's fine.
diagram of
That's fine.
devices that go inside the penis. See, this doesn't look as bad. This looks
So
like
you have like you see on there you have
this looks like they've cut into the guy.
no.
See.
What happens is okay. So like you see where one like. you know where your
right,
balls
so that's-
are. You know where your testes are.
All right,
This is
that's
a
his balls
supra.
down here
No,
with this
because this
squiggly
isn't
line.
even a Foley catheter. This is a suprapubic catheter. So some people have holes above their pelvic bone
Is that his spine?
that goes. That is at the bottom. It will go.
All right, that's his
It
ass
will go.
right there,
It's
isn't
a
it?
hole that will go directly and hook up to the bladder, where you completely skip your balls. Not your balls. You don't obviously don't put it balls, but you skip the dick hole, and you have a surgical procedure. There's usually lots of necessary reasons for that, and you'll have something called a suprapubic catheter. That's what that one is. So that's a supra, and supras
so
are
you can see-
usually
so what's the
very
one-
large. Like those are
If
large
I wanted to do
ones.
this for fun, if I just wanted to do it for fun,
Yeah.
like if we met up at like a video convention and we're just like, hey, why don't you put a catheter in me? Let's see how fast you can do it.
No.
I'm very fast. I'm very, very fast. I will ask you, obviously, since you're a guy, do you have any prostate problems? Am I going to run into any blockage? Because I'm going to go through, baby.
Yes.
I'm going to go through it.
Yes.
Baby.
But I'm really, really quick. I think probably... I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, and this will be
Let's
my
go.
this will
Tell
be
me a
my
story,
last
Jen.
medical story for today. That you guys can
No,
find
it's
some
weird
weird
side.
shit.
It's weird
good
side.
medical story.
I
So-
want this weird side.
I am kind of like a catheter queen.
Oh, you're a cath
At the
queen.
hospital. Yeah, I
CQ.
kind of was. So at the hospital,
New bio for Twitter.
one time
New
we
bio
had a
for Twitter.
patient. She
Catheter
was
queen.
probably pushing about 800 pounds.
Oh shit.
That's a huge
That's a
bitch.
huge bitch. Okay, so she needs to have a catheter placed. The nurse that
God,
the
that's two
nurse
boogies put together.
that was that's like four fucking people like put together. So what
Yeah.
happened is that the nurse that the patient was actually assigned to was a guy. And a lot of guys, they will try to swoon their nurse girlfriends to place Foley on usually a larger woman because they don't like it, which is fine. So I was bribed to do this. I was like, okay. So this is a several person procedure, mind you, because
fucking
of
hell.
the size of the lady. So you have one person holding up one leg and spreading it and getting the fat out of the way. You have another person holding back the other leg, spreading it, getting out of the way. And then you have two fupa holders. You need two people to hold the fupa up because I got to get in there. If I can't get in there.
So you had to have. So you had to call in two jabronis to come in and be like lift and separate. Oh,
four people. This was 4 people just to
I'm
hold
making
it.
the face of the Ninja Turtle avatar of the open mouth, eyes wide, like a what?
Then from the ceiling, I got to bust down like the surgical light, which not every room has, but thank God her
You had to
room
find
had
that
it.
woman's snatch.
You got to
didn't you?
bust out like the big industrial lights, and you
Oh
and
my
you
God,
got and
you
you
crawled in
and you
there.
got to go in. You got to fucking go in.
You gotta go in.
Crawled in there and bumped into
So,
a guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for my
I'm
keys. We
busted.
find my car. We can drive
Everything
out of
is
here."
already ready to go before we even lift her, because obviously this is going to be hard on her and her bones and everything else and tiring and awful. So we got to get this done like quick. So I already have all this stuff out and ready. Everything's hooked up. They lift everything up. I take the betadine, I swab it because you got to swab it like 3 times. Lube it up, and I just get it in. And how you know a catheter is in place correctly before you inflate the balloon is that the bag is going to start filling up with pee. So by the time that was done, it was probably like, I think it was like 20 seconds. And then I had her ballooned up and we had her down and it was done. That's how quick I can get it. I'm like, I'm the Waco
longer
kid.
To lift that woman
I'm the
up.
Waco kid of Foley.
So you didn't have you didn't need like
Oakley
stirrups
with a catheter.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You didn't need stirrups to do this thing.
Wow.
It was more manual task, because I'm guessing.
Well, you do. It is a stirrup procedure. That's why you clean it up with betadine. Like the way that you set up taking out the catheter from the bag and cleaning up. It's a very sterile procedure. And if you are, you have your clean
stuff.
hand and you have your dirty hand. Once with experience, you get that down pretty quickly. About, it's the same thing with like tattoo artists have the same thing. You have a clean hand and you have a dirty hand. As long as you know what you're doing in that, you can get things done extremely quick. If you set up correctly, you can get it done really quick. So you have to in a situation like that when it's somebody who's that large. And let me tell you about the smell for a second.
Oh, Jen. Oh.
It's bad.
What is the hobo power of this large woman?
What is the what?
The hobo power. That's a unit of measurement to describe how stinky something is.
Oh man, let me tell you, areas that don't get a lot of air for very long periods of time are pretty ripe. So just imagine the vaginal area if it's not getting a lot of air.
Oh no, that woman's
it's pretty bad. Like, I mean, when I was I had to scrub my forearms. Okay, we'll just put it that way. It took about 4 different scrubs. And this doesn't gross me out because it's like I lived it, so it's like it's not. It was just another day at the office. Yeah. No biggie.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing you would get used to kind of the horrible smells because it just becomes a factor of work.
Yeah, there's not a lot of smell. I think like the smells that actually bother me are like burning flesh, like in a surgery. Yeah. You kind of have to like, when they need to trim the fat, they'll kind of like burn it off a little bit. That smell is just weird and it's a little bit just off and I don't like it. And say somebody has a wound that's very infected. Not so much the gangrene, but like just a regular old rotting flesh.
What do they call it? Necrosis.
Necrosis. If it's necrotic, necrosis.
Yeah.
Necrosis can sometimes, like, if it's like necrotic where it's scabbed over, when you start getting to the mushy that's underneath, that's when it breaks. Oh yeah. I mean, I've touched tendon. I touch bone. Like nothing bothers me. There's nothing.
Fine.
There's literally nothing that you can say or do that's gonna bug me.
I mean, I feel like we've touched some bone before, but never at the level that Jen has. This is
I respect.
This is a whole different bone here, brother.
When you're cleaning up somebody's like shin or something like that, and you feel something rough. If you have the gauze, and you're cleaning somebody over the gauze, and you get that little rough little skirt, and it's like, oh, that's their bone. No biggie. Whatever.
But we're all meat machines at the end of the day. We're all meat machines.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Can we go back to talking about just the poop transfer?
I've seen it go. I've seen it go awry. If it goes awry,
that's what I was getting ready to say. What happens if it goes awry? What happens if there's a poop rejection?
If it's a poop rejection, and that is
poop up my ass.
What it is. Like if your body rejects the donor poop, it makes you really sick. Like they start puking a whole bunch, and you got to make sure to flush them out. So you have to give them something
like the Ultimate Warrior when Papa Shango cursed them. You got to give them
something else that's going to make them shit a whole bunch. So on top of that, they have C. diff. They're already fucked. They're already sick from rejecting the donor shit. So you have to, on top of that, give them something else that's going to make them shit it out even more. So it's just a sea of shit. And the person just feels like their insides are going to fall out and it's awful. And it's horrible. And it usually, after a donor rejection, probably takes about 12 hours for it to really, really clear out. So it's just pain and suffering. And there's some raw butthole, and all because some dog didn't like Tom.
Yeah, they nipped me on the knee, and now I'm shitting out in my entirety.
Yeah.
Is that the only way that you get that from an animal bite?
No. I was just saying, that was just an example. If you get any kind of infection and you go on antibiotics, see, that's why when people, like, say you get sick with like a virus or something and people go to the doctor and they demand antibiotics, that's actually stupid. And if you have a doctor that, if you have a doctor that gives you antibiotics for a virus, he's doing you a disservice and he's fucking you over, because it's not only you're putting yourself at risk for something like C. diff. Say you could become resistant. Like if you go on antibiotics too much when they're not necessary, your body can become resistant to them. So that if you actually need antibiotics, you're going to have a problem because you can't find something that works for you. Because like if there's something wrong with you and you start antibiotics, sometimes you won't know exactly what antibiotics is going to work until like several days after your initial blood draw. Because you get something called a culture insensitivity. So they take the culture, a blood culture, urine culture, whatever, and the sensitivity takes a few days later to come back. And that will tell you what antibiotics are going to work and what antibiotics are not. So if you are not using antibiotics correctly and you have a stupid doctor who gives it to you unnecessary, these are the risks that you run. So that's my PSA for today, and I'm going to shut the fuck up about that.
Yeah, isn't that what was it pharmacology? Like that's what it stands for, is that there's a certain risk with any sort of medicine.
Yeah, every medicine is going to have a risk, because
even aspirin.
No two people are the same, and not everybody's going to react the same. That's why there's so many different types of antibiotics, and a lot of people have different allergies to them. Like, diarrhea, skin rash. Those are usually like the two most common with antibiotics. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But that's the story of shit.
Pray that I never have to have anyone's poop shoved up my ass. That's what I'm gonna do.
It'll be okay. I got you. It's all right.
Never think about catheters ever again.
Yeah. Well, it proves that the entire of the human body is a collection of organisms inside of it that keeps us together. Like essentially, the gut bacteria is millions upon millions of times larger in like scale of what they have to do inside the human body. Like they are essentially the engine keeping us going, and obviously we need the gut bacteria going down into the lower intestines.
Yeah,
and it proves that, hey, keep care of yourself.
Yes,
keep a good hand.
But even if you take care of yourself, things can happen. Shit happens. It happens. Shit happens. Shit happens. Well,
it's fucking proof, because I recently had to go to a blood test and I was lethally low on vitamin D. Who would have known? Staying inside all day because of fucking lockdown
can literally fucking kill you.
I was literally dying.
Yeah.
I was fucking
to sit outside with one of those big reflector things. Yeah. Sit out there like the girls sunbathing.
All you got to do is get a little neon light, put it on your back, you'll be fine.
Exactly. I have to take fistfuls of this fucking vitamin D stuff just to keep alive. So hey, go.
Suppositories?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank God, no. Well, maybe no. I don't know. But yes, I would recommend anyone who's feeling a bit run down, go and see a doc if you can. But you know what you shouldn't inject into your fucking body? Fucking synth oil. If you guys have not known what synth oil is, it essentially turns your muscles into concrete. Yeah. And you look like Popeye the Sailor Man's ugly stepson. I'm going to now show you some stuff on screen. If you're listening to the audio version, just Google synth oil. But good golly, Miss Molly, they look like they have put balloons underneath their flesh. It is nightmarish. Like, have a look at it. It's because it's apparently super popular in Latin America because people want to look super big. But those don't look like muscles. They look like tumors. Yeah. They look like freakish fucking tumors.
And it's literally poison. It's literally fucking poisoning.
It's causing necrosis, and it's causing your bones
causing
and muscles
tissue death, because
concrete.
I'll tell you what, it's because most of these are black market. And when you get injections like the legit way, if you're getting injections the legit way, you're going to have a sterile environment. Okay. If you go to these back alley places, they're more than likely reusing fucking needles. So what happens is that if you're putting these into your skin, just the slightest amount of bacteria, especially the ones that's not yours, is going into your skin, causing an infection. That's actually what killed Anna Nicole Smith, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
She was trying to get Synthol?
No, she was reusing needles. Like, people thought she died of a drug overdose. No, she didn't. She died of a staph infection because she was injecting the same needles into her ass, which gave her staph. But anyway, go on. But yeah, synth oil bad. Don't put that in your body. No.
It's 85% oil, 7.7 ilicane.
I just typed in Synthol arms and hit Google Images, and these dudes all look like the worst gym bros. And their arms look so... It doesn't look real. It looks fake.
Absolutely. Like
it looks horrible.
This photo in particular stands out to me. It's like who has
Photoshop?
muscles?
That looks like the bad Photoshop memes. It looks like the Photoshop meme. Yeah.
Boy.
But I will at least say, at least they're not doing it in the forearm. Because, like, if you're fucking with the forearm, usually, like, on the inside, you have a major artery. You have your radial artery there.
There you go, Jen.
Oh, look at the left. The left, that's got cellulitis. That's fucking infected. You see the left?
Yeah.
You see how it's swollen and it's shiny and it's red? That's fucking infected.
Motherfucker has titties.
He's probably, this guy's probably already fucking dead.
These fellas look South American.
Absolutely, no, they definitely are. Like, I know for sure. Let me find the...
So this feels like the sort of thing that goes on in other countries.
Absolutely. So, the person that we're referring to is Valdir Segato. In his early 50s, regularly injects himself with a fluid despite being warned he risks severe nerve damage, disfigurement, and even amputation.
Yes,
his biceps are 23 inches. And they're all garbage.
He's got 23-inch pythons, brother.
There are certain places. Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's got titties.
Yeah, he does. And they're probably hard as a rock. They're not even fun titties.
Wow, that is a nice set of tits on that guy.
Listen. There are certain places in your body that you're not supposed to inject because it can cause nerve tissue death. And then that's what causes the necrosis. And then that's what makes you have to get a fucking amputation. Trust me, I'm a professional on this one. This is currently what I do. This is currently what I fucking do for a living, right here. Like this is my arena.
Still alive.
Listen,
absolutely.
Here's a pro tip. Here's a pro tip. If anybody wants to get work done, you either work out or you pay a reputable doctor to put in implants. Injections of this nature, not even black market, but anywhere else, are so dangerous. The risks are just insane. Just fucking work out, okay? Like, don't do this shit. Come on. But that's actually hilarious. Those titties are huge. Those are huge. Look at the back neck muscle. Oh my God. He looks like that fucking what's that, Charles? What's that dinosaur from Jurassic Park? The one that spits, you know how he's got like
it starts with a D.
That one. That's what he looks like that spitting motherfucker from Jurassic Park with his neck like that. That's bad.
He's got Goldberg neck. Goldberg, the pro wrestler, has that kind of neck that makes me wonder, how's he wipe his own ass? The guy that everybody called Goldberg. The one who's become a bad meme now from eating Ruffles and stuff like that on live streams.
Who was
that? Ryback.
Dilophosaurus, whatever it's fucking called. Yeah, Ryback.
Yeah.
Did you just say Dilophosaurus?
Absolutely.
All right, Jen, I'll let you read this off. Read this name off. Oh, good, he got it.
Dilophosaurus.
I keep posting photos of weird guys.
Dilophosaurus.
All right, now see the name Persephone.
Okay.
Now look for the name Persephone and try to read that off.
Where?
Yeah, the Ryback.
Then find the word minestrone and read that off, and see how you pronounce that. Not having the word minestrone in your head.
Well, cheeky Charles Tom, I have to say one thing. A staph infection reminds me of something that happened to a wrestler who he was one of the popular ones of all time, Mr. CM
Mr.
Punk.
CM Punk and his buddy Colt Cabana.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the staph infection
that
got him out of the WWE?
That was a real rough situation for him. So the claim from CM Punk was that during his last year in the major WWE company, he had a huge staph infection.
Yes.
Where? Where was it? Was it just in general?
I'll give you a photo of it.
Abdomen, I think is what he said it was.
I'll give you a photo of it now. Here we go.
He had got, what did they call it? A Z-Pack? I think he called it a Z-Pack.
Okay.
So that's, see if you see where the...
he said that the doctor gave him that and said it went down a little, but then he went back to the guy and the guy gave him another Z-Pack.
Oh, no. Z-Pack is like a... Z-Pack is more of like, it's more of a quick fix. It's like a 5-day and done, a Zithromax.
Yeah.
It's a 5-day and done. He probably had something serious enough where he needed to be...
Yeah, so it ended up with Punk. That was one of the big things that had him leaving the company. He wanted to be part of the main event of their so every year they have a thing that's the Super Bowl of wrestling called WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to be in the main event, but the main event was John Cena and The Rock, because The Rock was coming back. And to get The Rock into that main event, CM Punk had to give up his championship, losing to The Rock at a pay-per-view in February. Rock, and, I don't think Punk was very happy about that, about losing the championship to The Rock, doing that, what they call doing the job, being a jobber. And that and the staph infection is why he ended up leaving their company, like just being like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But he talked about the staph infection on his friend Colt Cabana's podcast, and I think he may have even mentioned the doctor's name. Yes. He called Ryback steroid guy. Because there was a lot of...
Well, Ryback broke...
he really was based.
So,
he was very based on that podcast. So
what he had... Basically, what he had was a boil, right?
Yeah.
How that is properly treated, I'll just tell you how that's properly treated, is that the boil has to be lanced and drained properly. So they have to cut it open. They have to get the head out.
I've done some lancing and draining
Yeah,
of
but
stuff.
then it doesn't end there. So what ends up happening there is once you've lanced, you've drained it, it needs to be packed for several days until that tissue grows back, on top of being on some antibiotics that are appropriate, which Zithromax is not something that's appropriate at all. Zero.
Not even
so in your medical opinion, that doctor was full of shit.
Absolutely, 100%. I have never in my life, in my professional career, have ever seen Z-Pack given for something that is for skin. You usually see that if somebody has an upper respiratory infection. That's more typically what you will see a Z-Pack with.
Because I take the company's side. I think that doctor was perfully fine.
No,
everything
the doctor was a mark.
WWE was just fine.
What they usually need for something like that, you would need more something called cephalexin. That's normally what is best to give for things for like the skin, unless it's something that usually people get if they're allergic to penicillin. That's how heavy it is. Cephalexin isn't penicillin, but usually when people are allergic to penicillin, they will give them cephalexin because cephalexin will act like penicillin without being penicillin. You know what I mean? Yeah. So usually with a skin thing, that's what you would want to do. Normally, typically, you just don't see Z-Pack. So yeah, I think that there was definitely some negligence there. But anyway, go on. This is interesting.
I was gonna say,
this is very interesting.
Yeah, there was a huge...
I'll jump in
Jen, there was a huge lawsuit over this bad boy.
I'm looking at what the doctor said.
And it went on, I think they just settled it. So it ended up with Punk and Colt not being friends over the lawsuit because they all ended up suing one another. The doctor sued, WWE sued, everybody sued.
It was a sue-on. Just everybody suing back and forth.
Huge mess, yeah. And Colt Cabana was, like, to say that Punk and Colt were best pals is an understatement. Like, they were brothers. Like, they were best pals. And so there was a famous thing where Punk, his famous pipe bomb promo is what they called it, where he sits down and starts talking and just says anything he wanted to on camera. He actually at one point looks in the camera and says, hi, Colt. I hope you're watching, buddy.
Wow.
And even though Colt wasn't working for that company at the time, like, he gave him that shout out, like right during his like big moment.
Wow.
And I was going to say,
and to see the two of them now hate each other and not be on good terms, very sad to hear. It's like Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. You want to hear that they're best buddies.
You don't want to hear. So they never made up before Macho Man.
They were not pals, and I don't think they got along either. I heard some wild, like Macho Man put out a rap album where he specifically targeted Hogan.
Did he do like a diss track?
He sang that Hulk Hogan's a real big chump. and Hulk Hogan is a real big punk.
Oh, shit.
And he wanted him to, and the song was about, it was called Be a Man.
Oh, shit.
Where he wanted him to be a man.
Wow.
Yes.
That was one of the last things I remember Macho Man putting out. He put out that rap album. I don't know if that was the year that he died.
That's 2003.
No.
2003.
That was before he died. So yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mr. Lenny Poffo, his brother, talked about this on, I think, the Dark Side of the Ring. But yeah, he did.
Excellent.
He did pass away in 2011, so this was in 2003. But I do want to quickly jump back to Punk shit, because this is from a direct quote from Twitter. When Punk told the doctor he wrestled with a staph infection mass on his back for 3 months, Punk said the doctor...
I was on his back.
Yes, I posted a photo before.
Everybody else
Okay,
should
I
have
missed that.
sued too, because that was putting everybody else at risk. Say that, say that buddy bursts in the ring. Somebody's holding him. They're getting like, holy shit. Like that could have actually, number one, that not being.
Oh, is that Ryback? Oh, that's him. Oh,
that
I see it.
not
It's right
being
there on his
treated
back. Oh my
could
God,
have-
that thing's
It
huge.
could have killed him, number one.
No, the doctor literally says, you should be dead. You
An
could have died.
untreated staph infection like that, what will happen is that your blood's dirty, your heart's pumping it. If it's dirty like that with staph, with MRSA, methicillin staphylococcus aureus.
So is it like, what do they call that? The toxic shock?
Yes,
that sort of stuff
yes.
Where it's,
You
it's
can.
like bad
that's
blood.
exactly what happens.
Sepsis. I think
You can
septic.
die of sepsis, and the closer the boil is to the heart, the more deadly it is. And if it's on his back like that, absolutely, he could have died. And you're in the ring with other people. He could have killed other people because, say, like somebody gets hurt when they're in the ring. You know, that open area. It doesn't even have to be an open area. Rubs up against the boil, it bursts. Like you could have killed 2 people with that shit. Like holy shit, that's how serious that is. Anyway, go on, Totem. I'm sorry, I hijacked that one again.
No worries, I do appreciate that.
Jen's MRSA moment.
I was going to say, so Punk left the company because of that, and then I think a couple months later, his wife AJ Lee was given her termination letter. Actually, no, yeah, she was let go. Actually, no, she left the company. My apologies. But CM Punk.
Yeah, that was a year later.
Yeah.
She ended up leaving.
Yes. But CM Punk got.
They treated her poorly as well.
Absolutely. CM Punk got his release papers. Hey, Jen, I'll ask this to Jen. Jen, what would be the worst day?
Oh, Jen doesn't know.
Jen, what would be the worst day to receive the release papers of you being released from a company? What would be the worst day?
Same day you get a divorce.
Oh,
You're close.
you are so close.
You're close.
It was on his fucking wedding day.
Oh,
I will reveal. I'm just going to reel this line. Punk said he was suspended for 2 months after walking out of the company in January, and after that, his suspension ended. Nobody at WWE contacted him. Punk also reached out to the company about unpaid royalty, but was given around by the company executives until he was handed his termination papers and was fired by WWE on his wedding day.
Do you think they planned that?
Yes.
Oh,
fucking
that's fucked up, man.
Vince McMahon is absolutely brilliantly evil, and that's what I love about him.
Like
Yeah,
that's like
personally
fucking
don't.
that's Burns evil right there. Like
That-
that's
I-
diabolical villain shit right there. Holy shit.
All right, so there's some stuff later on down the line. So Vince was on the Steve Austin Show podcast with Steve, obviously, and Vince McMahon apologized about the termination, which he regarded as a coincidence due to the lack of communication in the organization. McMahon said he was open to working with Punk again, and on the second episode
Punk
of
did come back and work for him briefly, or
no.
worked for Fox, right?
Yeah, he was working with Fox, was a supplementary to WWE. So Punk has not been on WWE, but he's done a supplementary content stuff for the Fox network, which purchased WWE's television show that Sun.
Yeah, they had the TV show. They was like
Good
doing
old
an after show
reputable
thing.
Fox.
Absolutely. You know what? Actually, this is a great point, and I think you would love this, Jen. I have stopped watching WWE, and I've started watching AEW, and their current women's champion is an actual doctor. Dr. Britt Baker DMD.
Oh, that's sick.
Dr. Britt.
So I have stopped watching modern wrestling completely, and I only watch wrestling from before the year 2002.
Charles, you and I have to.
And they have a wrestler named Dr. Death, Steve Williams, who is the Doctor of Death.
Oh.
But he lost that. Hold on. But yes, I will say, I would recommend everyone here watching AEW. You can watch it online. You get like a subscription thing to it. But Dr. Britt Baker.
I recommend everybody watch old Survivor Series and Royal Rumbles.
I only watched like probably like late 90s, like NWO. That was it. That was
NWO for life, Jen. That's how it works.
Sweet.
Too sweet. But yes,
Miss
Jen has a
Elizabeth.
legitimate
Miss
practice.
Elizabeth in the motherfucking house. Okay, anyway.
God damn. But
Did you ever hear what happened to Miss Elizabeth?
She died. I don't remember how she died.
She ended up,
she died.
She ended
but I
up
don't remember.
leaving. So her and Macho Man had ended up getting divorced, and then they ended up working together at the other company at WCW. Because see, WWF and WCW, two very different companies. And so they're working together there, and that's where she met the fella Lex Luger.
Yes.
She ended up marrying him. And I believe it was at their big place that they had an overdose.
That's what it was.
I think they might have had that on the Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes,
too.
yes. They talked about entirely on that.
What is that with a lot of the ex-wrestlers where they end up either on drugs or just fucked up? Like it's kind of like the football thing. Like some of the head injury football NFL guys, like.
Well, my friend described it to me. He's a pro wrestler. He said that it's like going out every night getting into a car crash.
Oh, fuck.
Where every night you're putting
good.
that trauma on your body.
That's not good.
Like you're slinging yourself around and you're jumping around. Because the way to break kayfabe, the way it works is when you see the moves done. Typically, the person who takes the bump is the one who's actually like having the move performed on them. Yeah. But they're the one who's like doing the jumping and trying to land.
That's going to take a toll on your joints, your muscles. You're not going to have any tendon. You're not going to have any nothing lubing your joints. Probably like that's just nothing. There's nothing good long term from things like that. So I can imagine the pain alone is probably what drives the people to drugs because you just want to be numb. If you're in pain all the time, you just want to be numb. So
Hogan has talked about what happened with him. He's had nothing but hip issues because his finishing move was where he'd do the big boot.
Yeah,
the guy would run into the ropes.
Yeah,
and kick
rip. He's
and
not
then
gonna have anything left.
He jumps in the air and does the leg drop.
Yeah,
and he said if I could go back 40 years and change from the leg drop to a sleeper hold, because he said sleeper hold you just stand there and hold the guy. The leg drop he has to jump in the air and like fall on his ass, and do that every night for
how many years?
40 years. Yeah, that's a lot of him in the air hitting his ass.
That's a lot of pain.
And if he's doing that out on the hard concrete, like the mats, a lot of those mats are not good. Like some of them, it depends on which company you're working for and where you're at. Some of them are more springy and they'll have stuff under them that have a little more give. Yeah. But
it's only a thin layer.
Did he ever get like a hip replacement or anything?
I believe he has.
Even with hardware, even with replacements, I mean, you're still gonna have pain. You're still gonna have joint issues of everything, unless you replace your whole fucking body. Like, good luck.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with wrestler Mick Foley, Mankind, and what he's been going through.
No,
he can barely walk.
Tell me.
Oh, he is. So he was famous for being thrown off of cages and taking just the worst hellacious hits of chairs. Like there's a famous one where at, I believe it may have been a Survivor Series, where he's been handcuffed and The Rock is slapping him with chairs. He was supposed to slap him 3 times. Rock slapped him like 11. Just beat his brains in with a chair.
11 chair shots, unprotected to the face. It was at the 1999 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, he had pulled off the mask. Oh, it was the Rumble. Okay. Yeah, it was the Rumble. Had pulled off the mask and was just beating the far out of him.
Jesus Christ.
Unprotected, he has his hand on him.
Yeah, and that's Roddy Piper even talked about hitting when he hit Jimmy Snuka with that coconut.
Anybody that wants to say that wrestling is fake, like, holy shit. Like, even if they're not going full force, this is pretty bad.
So fake, don't use like Dr. D when he slapped John Stossel. Like that was the whole thing. Was John Stossel's like, so wrestling's fake, right? And Dr. D, being a real guy, was like, oh, you think it's fake, boy? You think it's fake? Bitch slapped him. And then you think that felt fake? Did that feel fake? And then bitch slapped him again. Oh man. Like it, and this Dr. D is a big fucking dude. David Schultz, slapped the absolute dog shit out of John Stossel, and that was a big lawsuit too. But
Dr.
Roddy
Dr.
Piper
D
when he
is
slaps
Dr. Dr. Death is Steve. Let me go. Sorry, I just want to make sure because people will give a shit over it. Dr. Oh no, actually there's a guy who went to jail. He was a neurosurgeon. Dr. Death. Steve Williams. Dr. Death. Steve Williams.
Yeah, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. Yeah, there's Dr. D, and then there's Dr. Death.
Yeah,
two different dudes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so scuffed.
But the Roddy Piper bust that coconut over Jimmy Snuka's head. He said it wasn't until years later he thought, what if I gave him brain damage when I hit him with that?
And then Snuka killed his girlfriend.
Yeah, and Snuka, there was a whole thing where he allegedly may have killed a girl. Like he says he come home and found the girl already murdered.
That was covered in Dark Side of the Ring as well. The Jimmy Snuka shit. It was so scuffed. Yes.
Very, very interesting story. What happened with Superfly Jimmy Snuka,
and he's
where he was the babyface guy. He was the number 2 babyface behind Hogan. Then he worked with Piper, and then he just sort of slid down the card.
I
was talking the other day about what happened with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like Jim Duggan should have been a bigger name than he was, until he was on the way up until he got into a program with the Iron Sheik, and the two of them were at the airport. They were for some reason, one of the guys couldn't get a rental car, and they happened to see the other guy was getting ready to leave. Like, oh, hey, let's ride together. Sure thing. And they stopped to get gas and just bought a tremendous amount of beer, and they had a bunch of pot in the car, and they were going pretty hard on their way to the stadium. They got pulled over, and, the guy let them off with a ticket or whatever, and they just drove on and done their show. Didn't think, that wasn't no big thing. Said 3 days later, it's all over the front page news all around the country. Oh, if wrestling's fake, good guys and bad guys hang out together and smoke pot and drink. This is your all-American hero right here, pot smoker.
At least it's just pot.
And this was in 86,
Oh, then
87.
it was bad back then, right? That was the say no to drugs era.
Killed wrestling. And many people think that particular event killed wrestling, and that made Hacksaw's name mud, Iron Sheik's name mud. They just, killed their whole thing because they probably shouldn't have been drinking and smoking pot while driving out on the highway.
That's bad. Yes, that's usually not a great idea.
No, but wrestlers have done worse things in cars for sure. There's a famous story of the Steiner brothers would get into car battles with the Samoans.
Oh, that's actually kind of sick, though.
Yes. So picture Sting driving a car, and the two Steiner brothers are in there. Scott Steiner has a hold of his brother Rick, holding him out of the car as they're driving by the wild Samoans, and Rick Steiner is reaching over, opening up their car door, and trying to slap them.
That's fucking metal as fuck.
As they're both doing 80, 90 on the highway.
Yeah, that's
just hauling
dumb
ass.
as fuck, but that's cool.
Yes. If I was 19, that would have seemed like the greatest and funniest idea in the world.
When you get old,
hang out the car and slap each other.
When you get old and boomer, it's that's.
I would never in 1,000 years.
That's not good, guys. What?
Yes.
It's insane. But
so even the hardcore wrestling where the guys are slapping each other with light tubes and everybody wants to do the crazy bumps and to wrap things in barbed wire, ECW, the exploding death ring, all.
Oh no! I mean,
Texas
CZW is far worse. CZW is still around.
Yeah, CZW. I don't know how those guys are What are they thinking? What are they Every match is that. Every match is a garbage match where it's just let's beat the hell out of one another and cut each other up and well, there was a whole. You have to escalate every night. How do you follow up after you bash a guy's brains in? Right, oh, let's go bash another guy's brains in.
And it's just kind of that seems really risky.
Yeah, this fella here, David Arquette, died doing a hardcore match.
There's got to be hella insurance and hella lawyers with stuff like this. There has to be.
No, not in wrestling.
That's insane to me. That's just absolutely insane to me.
It's just like video games. The guys who want to do it are passionate. And so that means stupid.
Yeah.
Well,
that means they're dumbasses who are just this is just how it is. So this is what we do. It's no, you guys need to unionize. You guys got to get your shit together.
To a craft.
Don't fucking Vince will never let it happen. That's the reason why I went to AEW, because Vince doesn't give a shit about their fucking wrestlers. Fucking Tony Khan.
Has he ever though? Has he ever though?
Never. Never in his fucking life.
He has favorites. He plays favorites with a few guys.
But do you think he does that for like?
He'll get cold on
he
guys.
does that just for tactics?
Well, they're not even.
He will get cold on people, like Lex Luger.
Well, they're probably not making him any money. He
Lex
probably
Luger.
just fucking he probably colds them out if they're not making him any motherfucking money, right?
Yeah. Well,
no, I think he loved Lex Luger. Lex Luger. Yeah, they're independent contractors.
That means they don't get health
even
insurance.
though they're not allowed to work for other companies.
And he can play favorites because in that case, there's going to be no nepotism policy. So fuck it.
Yeah. Well, there is nepotism.
Even though his son and daughter and his daughter's husband are all high-level employees at the company.
Yeah, Triple H.
What the fuck else are they going to do?
Yeah.
It is my humble opinion that Triple H is a piece of shit.
Triple H has done a lot for the wrestling company with like NXT, and the NXT was frankly far more watchable than main TV shit. I will be perfectly honest. I was like, but that's the reason. That's the reason why
it is gone the way of the other ones now.
Yeah, that's the reason why I went to fucking AEW because fucking Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are actually doing some genuinely good shit. It's actually watchable. And yes.
I like the one on the Mexican channel, the Lucha Underground.
I mean, Triple A.
And watching Triple A wrestling, like that's good.
Yeah. But it's to cinch,
seeing the guys do that kind of crazy stuff.
To cinch back into wrestling and science, Dr. Britt Baker is a legitimate doctor. She is a dentist. Her gimmick in wrestling is she's a dentist.
Oh, she's a DDS. Boo!
No. She's a DMD.
There's another wrestler called Isaac Yankem.
Oh, that's fucking Kane. That Isaac Yankem was Kane.
He's now a mayor.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't, and then
Yankem.
that follows in Jesse Ventura's footsteps.
Jesse Ventura.
He was the first one. The body was the first one.
Well, now he's Jesse the Mind.
Jesse the Mind Ventura.
Well,
Jesse
the
Mind
body's
Ventura.
kind of gone. God, he looks so different.
Listen, Jen, let me tell you something. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm going to share them all.
I've seen things that you won't believe.
But I'm sorry,
I was a Navy
DDS
SEAL.
is not okay. Like I have a friend who's a DDS, and when he gets really, really drunk, he says shit like "I'm a doctor, damn it," and we're like, "No, fuck you, you're a DDS.
Right.
Fuck you, man."
Okay.
Nothing would make me laugh more than if DDP became a DDS.
All right. So I will defend Britt Baker here. She is not a DDS. She's a DMD.
Whatever. Fuck off.
Her entrance literally does it. Like it says DMD.
Here's the thing. Dentists are the laughing stock of the doctor community.
Britt is going to hear. I'm going to tell Britt about this. I'm going to tweet, "Hey, Britt.
It's true. It's true.
But Jen, I think you would really love Britt Baker. She's the best. But yes, science is a catastrophe.
Science,
exactly. I think we're definitely gonna have to do a weird wrestling very soon. But I think this is a great crossover point between science and the human body and what it does. I like how we went from shit. We were talking about shit.
So anytime we can get Jen to talk about crazy medical stuff,
I love it.
I feel like I want to talk about weird science, but I feel like I'm done.
I have a lot of stories.
Because this is just like, oh man.
At least I know
the poop transfer stuff.
The catheter stuff blew my mind.
Transfer stuff.
I've seen scurvy. I've seen scurvy. You don't think that is a thing anymore, but
Yarr.
It is. Yeah.
You know, here's the crazy thing about scurvy is that sailors knew about scurvy, and they just were like, yeah, we don't need to take lemons with us anymore. What are we bringing lemons? Let's just bring lemon juice.
Yeah.
Yes, it was like lemon tack.
Then
like lemon tack.
Yeah, and then for years they ended up getting scurvy again after so many years.
Yeah,
it was a thing. It was a thing, with the homeless. So it still exists.
Oh,
yeah. It still exists, but I've only seen that once. I've only seen scurvy once, and that was years ago.
Yarr,
yeah,
scurvy
matey.
Exactly.
He be out there getting scurvy.
Well, we'll have to hit the high seas very soon, and we'll talk. Well, I think we'll definitely have a weird science episode of weird wrestling.
Yeah,
very
for
sure.
soon.
But
sure.
But dearest Jen, I have to ask, what was the topic that caught your brain the most? What was the weirdest topic?
The whole untreated fucking boil thing. What the hell?
CM Punk.
Yeah, that's some untreated MRSA where somebody could have died and put others at risk, and they gave him Z-Pack and they had to settle. What in the fuck?
Exactly. What about you, Charles? What was the weirdest one for you? I heard.
Oh, good God.
You didn't like sounding.
Everything Jen said.
You didn't like sounding at all. I posted one image of sounding.
sounding. No,
It
I
wasn't
didn't like
the catheter.
that.
It was the sounding thing. It was the little rod that went in. It wasn't the catheter.
Yeah, I couldn't look at that.
At least I respect your
Trying
honesty.
to look at that is upsetting to me.
I respect it. I respect it, Charles. I would have to agree. I'm informed now about catheters, and I do appreciate that, Jen. And that's the best part of it.
Yeah, now we can
Good.
speak.
That's the best part
Now
about
we're
this.
catheter experts. Now when it comes up in conversation, we'll be like, oh, well, the catheter's no big thing. You just shove those right
The
in.
more
Flick the
you
tunnel
gal, we
know.
go at 20
The
seconds.
more you know. And that's the best part about this show, because it's real and it's weird, and we're a bunch of sickos. And I want to thank everyone for watching us. I appreciate our dear friend Ben W, for the editing jobs that he's always doing, and
Yay, Ben.
Lovely Ben.
Lovely Ben, and our good friend Basswaite, who is introducing us with the music, the lovely
Yes.
amp up.
Yes.
Do check out everyone's social links in the bottom of the screen. From myself, Tom Videoga, that are my dearest friends, Do Jingles. Jen, what's on the card coming up for you?
Well, it
check the
depends on
videos.
what time.
I
It
know!
depends on what
Fuck
time
you.
we release this.
I
But
know. I know. Check out your channel because you're working on
This is
something.
actually the week of July 17th, and there should be a video coming out next week. So
Absolutely.
there you go
Absolutely.
with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to promote stuff from October.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Yes.
At this point.
I'll be at
Let's talk
VidCon.
about
I'll be at
October.
VidCon in October. I'll be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so go and check out Chen's channel over at youtube.com/dojangles over there. We're working, well, the video is a science related, you could say, etology of silence.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. And you can check out,
Tom's in that one.
absolutely. And you can check out Mr. Charles Khan over on Twitch. What's happening on Twitch? What's the D's and D's?
We play video games. Every once in a while, we'll do a little retro gaming.
Ooh,
We do a little gaming, and
say
we
we
do
do
a
a
bit
little
of the
game.
dungeons.
A little game.
We do the little Dungeons and Dragons on Friday evenings. It being, assuming that it's October, we'll be doing a lot of Halloween and horror related stuff.
October.
Cocktail.
Yes.
Spooky.
Well,
Spooky.
I just love Cocktober.
Absolutely. What a cock fiend.
Ooh.
Iwu Segway. And I am working on stuff like editing this show. I should get it done. And also Cyberpunk stuff. So check everyone out on Twitter, which is Dogens on Twitter, Mask_Bastard on Twitter for Mr. Charles Khan, and Tom_Videoga for myself. I want you to stay safe, stay weird, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm extending this, Jen. Say bye. Bye.